Hey everyone, this is Kyle Constant, Digital Services Librarian at Trails Regional Library. Today I'm going to be showing you how to hook up a PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation VR headset. We have used these in a few different branches, some of them where Sarah Evans and I have come and set them up, others where the staff have actually been trained and have set it up themselves. So it is perfectly doable. It's not super confusing, and hopefully with the help of this video and some other things I'm going to show you, this will be something that just about anybody can handle. So on the run, you can request these, by the way, through the programming materials and equipment calendar through Sarah Evans. So just email her or check her calendar if you want to see if it's available. And she will make sure that if it's not available, she'll let you know, or if it is, that you get it in a timely fashion. So, and it will just come on the run like anything else does. You'll get these two boxes, this white one here and the clear one. Chances are over time, we may need to replace these, but it'll be something very similar to this, if not exactly like this. One is the white box is the box that the PlayStation headset came in when we bought it. So I'll show you that one in just a second. This one's probably a little bit easier to start off with. I'm going to switch sides of the desk real quick. This one will actually have the system and some controllers in it. So I'll show you first everything that's in it, and then I'm going to set some things aside just so I have room to work. So you'll have a couple of PlayStation 4 controllers, a couple of PlayStation Move controllers. These are for motion games where you have to have your hands detected by the camera. I'll show you again how to turn these on and use them in just a moment, but you need two of those. There will be a cleaning cloth. This is for the lenses in the headset. You will have a audio headset, some headphones. I'll show you where these plug in to the headset in just a few moments. You will have a couple of games. These are on disc, but they are also, with the exception of VR Worlds, the demo disc is also on the hard drive of the PlayStation, so you don't actually need these other than to show people what on the back all of the games are listed, so you can use them for that purpose. Other than that, these are just kind of as a backup in case something goes wrong, you can't use them off the hard drive, you have the discs available, and you're not dead in the water. You also have this small box that came with the PlayStation VR headset. You can see on the back, if that will focus for me, there we go. You can see there are some letter labels near some of those ports, and I'll show you in just a moment. The way I've done this is there are letter labels near the ports, and the cables that go into those ports have the same letter label attached to them. So it should be as simple as connecting A to A, B to B, and so on. But this is in addition to the PlayStation itself. So the last thing that will be in this container is the PlayStation 4. So, and it's by far the largest item. So again, I'm going to set some of these things off to the side, and then I will have room to set the PlayStation 4 down. So that's the PlayStation 4, and as you can see on the front here we have a label that says E. I'm not sure if that's playing on the camera well, but then we also have a couple of labels back here for ports that are immediately beneath those labels, and then a label right there that says A for the power cable. So that is how that will sit, and normally I put this box directly on top of the PlayStation. It can sit just about anywhere. There's just going to be cabling coming from this going to the PlayStation 4, so however it works best in your setup. Also keep in mind that coming out of the front, and this, don't worry if this moves around while you are using it or setting it up, it does that. I'm not sure why, but it does. But something to keep in mind is that out of the front of this will be a cable that is running directly to your headset. So if the length of the cable is a concern, if you have people that are going to be moving around much, you may need this off to the side to kind of give them a little bit more slack in the cable. So I'm just going to leave those two things out right there and then switch back around so I can show you what's in this box. Generally all the cabling is going to be in here, and there is a decent amount of it, but as I said, the vast majority of them are all labeled. You can see on the end of that one it says F, so that is going to go to the F port, and this is the camera. The camera is necessary for the PlayStation VR. This is its multi-in, multi-out cable, and I'll show you what to do with those. Also wrapped up in here is an HDMI cable. So you need one of those in addition to the cable that is already on most of your TVs. This is the multi-in, multi-out. We've got a USB. We have a power cable. There should be two like this, and they are labeled separately, but they are interchangeable. So here's the second one. One is A, one is H. A power adapter for the headset. And then the cable that is attached directly to the headset and the headset itself. So that's everything in that box. I'm going to move it out of the way, set the headset down. Now I will start plugging things in. Even though things are labeled A through, I think, H, you don't necessarily have to put them together in that order. One thing I would recommend is that you don't plug in the PlayStation to power before you are finished, simply because the power button, which sits right here on the PlayStation 4, is a capacitive button. It doesn't require you to actually push it. You just touch it and it turns on. So what has happened to me on multiple occasions, I have been hooking it up and just brushed it, and the PlayStation has come on more than once, and it's not a huge issue, but it's just sort of annoying. So for that reason, I leave it unplugged until the end. So I've got this TV monitor here to show you. What I commonly do is I will sit the camera somewhere, and you can't see that. Let me change where this camera is positioned so you can see the top of this monitor. There we go. So you can see now where the camera is sitting. It can sit anywhere, but it needs a clear view of the player. So this is how it detects the motion of the player. There are lights on the front of the mask that will tell the machine where you are and when you're turning your head and how you're turning your head, things like that. So these cameras need to be able to see that. So it needs to be fairly centered, and it needs to be roughly level with the player. There is a calibration tool that is a part of most pieces of software that use PlayStation VR, and usually it will pop up fairly regularly even while someone is using it to recalibrate and make sure that everything is positioned properly. So again, you can see I'm plugging in the camera first. Let's see if that's going to focus. No, it doesn't look like it's going to focus. Anyway, that label on the end of it says F, and there is a port on the back of the PlayStation 4 that says F as well. So I just plug it in to that port. And make sure that you have things positioned properly. Oftentimes there is only one way for the plug to go in. You shouldn't have to use much force. So if it's not going in, you may have to flip it over or turn it in some way. So make sure that you have things positioned properly before you try to put more, apply more pressure to it. So next, I am going to put the power cables aside. As I said, I don't like plugging things in until later on. So I'm going to take this USB cable. On one end it's a normal USB, and on that end it says E. On the other end it's a micro USB, and it says D. So E is on the front of the PlayStation 4. I'll tip this up so you can see it right there. There is an E. So all of the USB ports on the PlayStation 4, on this version of it, are in the front. So you have to plug it in the front. And then D is on the back of this box right there. So I'm going to plug that in as well. If any of you have Android phones, it's the same style connector that's on almost all Android phones. So you have to have it, it's wider on one side than the other, so you have to have it turned properly. Again, if you have Android phones, you'll be familiar with that. I'm going to take this HDMI cable. There are two HDMI ports on this, this breakout box. So you have one that goes to the PlayStation 4, and it's actually labeled on here. They have their own blue label here that says HDMI PS4, and then next to it HDMI TV. So, and that's exactly what it sounds like. You know, one of them goes to the PS4, one of them goes to the TV. But I have gone ahead and labeled the HDMI cable that goes with this kit. So one end says C, one end says B, so you can't go wrong. So you just match up the C end with the C port. And then the B end, as I said, this is the side that says HDMI PS4. So the B end is going to go in the back of the PlayStation 4. So now the PlayStation 4 is connected to the breakout box via HDMI. The other HDMI port, I'm going to take this one, and it is not labeled because it's just connected to my TV. This will be one that you all will have already connected to your TVs and your branches. So it doesn't matter which HDMI you use, just make sure that you know on your TV which input it is connected to so that you can navigate in your TV's menus to get to the right input. So that one, we're going to go to the other HDMI port on this box that says HDMI TV and plug that one in. And now we've got this multi-in, multi-out cable. So on this one, you've got a couple of different style connectors. One, this one right here, you can see is an HDMI, and it's got kind of a black connector on the inside. This one is one of Sony's proprietary connectors, and it's white on the inside. So you've got those indicators. For one thing, you've got black and you've got white. The other indicator that you have is there are shapes on the front. So you've got triangle and circle on this one, and you've got X and square on this one. So what that allows you to do is on your breakout box, you can see white on this port, black on this port, and again, the white has a triangle and a circle above that port, and the black has an X and a square above that port. So you've got multiple indicators on there to tell you which end of this cable you put in. So then you can slide that back out, and this will be, the ends of these connectors will be flush with the front of the box whenever you slide that piece back out. Okay, so what is that cable used for? Well, the other end of that cable looks exactly like the ports on the box. So it's just an extension of those ports. But what it does is, on the headset, you've got the same plugs. So you've got white and black, you've got X and square on this one, you've got triangle and circle on this one. So you match them up again, and that connects it to your headset. So essentially what that, all this cable really allows you to do is it allows the cable that's on the headset itself to be very short, and for this cable in between to kind of just add some length for the player to get a little bit further away from the screen. So so that's that. Let's see. Looks like the only things we have left now are the power cables. So the power cables for the breakout box requires this transformer. So you've got, I mentioned earlier that we have two cables that are pretty much interchangeable, that are power cables. These will look very familiar to most of you. They're on a lot of different consumer electronics. They just have two plugs on this end and then your standard wall outlet plugs on this end. So Sony just uses standardized plugs or standardized power cables, but the PlayStation itself needs one, and then the breakout box needs the other, and it passes that power to the headset. So this one, and it's labeled H, goes into this port on this transformer, also labeled H. And I'm going to unwrap this one real quick before I plug this in. So you've got the H end of this cable and the H port. So we're going to plug that in. Then I didn't label any of the ends of these power cables. I figured everyone was very familiar with these, not really necessary to belabor that point. But this other end that comes out of the this transformer here, this cable, I did label because it's something that is a little bit less familiar. So I labeled it G, and it goes into the back of this breakout box here. And I can't turn it now because it's got so many cables in it, but it is labeled G as well. So you can see where it goes quite easily. So this is going to go down, and as I said earlier, this can kind of move around. Where I am right now, the transformer couldn't reach to the floor without moving this box over, so I'm going to move it over to the side, which is perfectly fine, and then I'm going to plug it in. And then last but not least, I am going to plug in the PlayStation. So this end is labeled A. The one before that we plugged in here was labeled H. Again, they're interchangeable, but this way you are certain to have the right cable in the right place. So plug that in there. The other end goes into your wall outlet, or preferably a surge protector. Most of you will probably have those near your TVs anyway. So now that all of that is hooked up, you're ready to turn it on and give it a shot. Something else that I would advise you to do is to charge as many of these as you can. I don't see the charging cables for these controllers, the Move controllers. All of the Sony controllers have internal rechargeable batteries, so you should just need a cable and a USB cable and a wall charger, or you can plug it into the PlayStation itself to charge them. I'll make sure that there are plenty of cables in there so that you can do that easily. It should just require, you can plug it into a computer, you can plug it into a tablet or a phone adapter if you've got one of those. Really anything will work. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the PlayStation on. So I'm going to hit the power button right here, and you can hear a small beep. I don't know if you can see that blue light. Looks like it's on the camera. You can see it pretty easily. Blue light lights up here, and should get, yeah, there we go. So it started up on the TV. Now, since I hit power here, this controller is not on yet. So the button right here in the center that my thumb is on, it has a PlayStation symbol on it. I can hit that. That light comes on. That means I'm synced with the PlayStation 4, and it is ready to go. So I can use that to control things. Now, when you're using VR, there is a small box of controls on the cable that comes off of the headset. This controls your headset volume and your mic volume. Hey everyone, it's Kyle. I realized whenever I was watching this video and editing some of it that I failed to mention that also in this box is a headphone jack. So I showed you that a headset will come along with the kit, but I didn't show you where the jack is. It's on this small white control box that's in the middle of the cable. If you just turn to look at one of the sides, there's a small jack there. It's just a standard headphone jack. Shouldn't be anything too complicated. You should be able to find it just fine, but I didn't mention it, so I wanted to interject here and mention that. And okay, now I have. So on with the training. But it also turns on the headset itself. So you can see there's no lights turned on right now. If you hit the top button here, it has a power symbol on it. You'll recognize that pretty easily. The top one, you hit that, and you should have heard a little beep. And the backlights on the back of the headband generally come on first. The ones in the front come on later, but that's how you know that you've turned that on effectively. To navigate around, you can use the D-pad. You can go left, right, up, down, and then to select things, you use X. To get back out of menus, you hit circle. A couple of things that I think are really useful for a lot of people when they are first starting to use the PlayStation is to know about, you can get to a game, like for instance Job Simulator is selected right here. You can get to a game, hit X, it will launch the game, and then which should prompt the headset to come on, and it will look for controllers, the Move controllers in particular, and then I'll show you in just a moment how to get back out of this game. So anytime you get into a VR game, it's going to give you this warning. It's just telling you that there are some health risks associated with it. I tend to ask people at the beginning of programs that if they have any health concerns, if they know that they have any issues like that, to let us know. There aren't any known instances of significant damage to eyes or development in kids particularly young, but it does say that it's not for use for kids under 12. It'd probably be a good idea to get a release of some sort. There is a gaming release on Staff Docs that you can use for that purpose if you want to get permission from a parent to use the VR games. But to get through this, you just have to hit X on OK once you've read it. Then it's going to show you what the camera sees, so that it just says check your surroundings. Are they clear of things you might bump into? And whenever you're ready to say all clear, then you hit X again, and it will launch the game. And you probably, well, no, you probably didn't see, but the lights on the front came on once the game started to launch. And one of the first things that Job Simulator in particular will do is look for the Move controllers, and they're not currently turned on. But I'll show you. Let's see. It also likes to see the headset. I forgot about that. It tends to just sit there at a black screen if it doesn't see the headset. So now that it sees the headset, you can see it's kind of bobbing around because it's like it's on someone's head and they're looking around. So it's saying bring motion controllers into tracking. So in other words, it wants to see those in front of the camera. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn these on. There is another, just like on the regular controller, there's a PlayStation button. I'm going to hold that for a second. You can see that light comes on, and then the top lights up as well. When that happens, it comes on and says, PlayStation Move motion controller connected. Who is using this controller? You can have both motion controllers and the PlayStation controller all connected to the same user, and that's what you want. So it will pop up and it will have Trails Regional Library already selected. So just hit X, which on this one is the bottom left button. So just hit X and it will assign this controller to that user. So you need to do that with both of them. So I'm going to do that with this one as well. And then it comes on and lights up. And again, it's going to ask me who's using it. I'm just going to hit X because it's already highlighting Trails Regional Library. And now you can see as I lift these up, you can see that green, that green box right there. That means it can see that one. And if I bring this one up, it can see that one now, but it can't see the headset. So then once I bring them all up, it will all light up. There we go. And I've gotten through that. So this beginning section of Job Simulator is just to make sure that you've got everything that you need. So it'll tell you to stand in the middle of a circle, and so when you've got the headset on, you can look down at the floor. There'll be a circle. You stand there. You do a T pose like this stick gentleman here is doing, and you'll go through a couple other steps to calibrate things and make sure that you're standing the distance from the camera that it wants you to stand at for this game, and you're good to go. If at any point you need to recalibrate, there is the option to recalibrate from one of the menus in Job Simulator. So, and if you need more instruction on that, just let me know, and I can show you how that works. The other thing I was going to show you before was how to get back out of a game. So with a controller that's already turned on, you can see the light here is still on. So this controller is still turned on. So with one that's already connected and turned on, I'm going to hit that PlayStation button again. You can see it brings me back out to this main menu. With Job Simulator selected, you can see it's larger than all of the other squares, and it's highlighted. I'm going to hit the Options button, which is just here to the right of this big touchpad in the middle. It says Options. I'm going to hit that button, and the very top option over here in this menu is Close Application. So I'm going to hit X, and it's going to close. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. You say OK, and that will close Job Simulator. Now, the reason that I'm showing you that is that occasionally what we have found is that the headset will either lose tracking, or there will be instances where it will just sit and load, and you'll see the symbol for loading, and it will just sit and load and load and load and load. It seems like that is less frequent now than it was when we first got it, but just so that you know, that would be my recommendation for how to get out of a game. Close it down, and then if you want to launch it again and see if it will load correctly, just hit X again. The games that we currently have installed on the hard drive that will use PlayStation VR are Job Simulator, PlayStation VR Worlds, Alamet, Playroom VR, PlayStation VR Demo Disc, and Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. So each one of these is a little bit different. I would encourage you to, when you're requesting this, to get these in advance and try them out. If you want me to come and train all of your staff, or if you want me to spend a little bit of time with you, maybe after a manager's meeting or whatever, just ask, and I would be more than happy to show you kind of some of the more intricacies of what each of these games is about. We're going to include a menu with this to also describe some of the content, because there are some things that are in some of these. For instance, some of the demos in PlayStation VR are scary games, and not everybody is into that. Not everybody wants that. So we're going to have a more detailed menu that we put in this tub along with the PlayStation that will explain some of the content that's in each one of these. And that's pretty much it. Once you are done using it, then of course you just turn it off by hitting this button again. Or you can hold the PlayStation button, a little menu will come up. You can go down to where it says Power, and then hit to the right, go down to where it says Turn Off PS4, and it says Preparing to Turn Off the PS4. Watch this center light. It will change to a white light whenever you tell it to turn off, but it will pulse for a little while and you'll still hear the fan. Don't start disconnecting it or doing anything like that until that light stays off. Once it does, you can start taking all the cables loose, wrapping them up, and putting them back in the tub to send back to Warrensburg. Other than that, I think that's pretty much the long and short of it. If you have any questions, always feel free to contact myself or Sarah Evans. We both have set this up several times and can maybe walk you through any issues that you might be having. So thank you all very much, and please request this and add it to your programs. We found that it's fairly popular.